Welcome back to Burning the Couch with Pim and Michaela. Today we are doing part 2 of Words of Wisdom. So this is as advice that we've gotten from either colleagues, friends, also our listeners, right? So some of you have contributed some of these words of wisdom for other people who are interested in getting into the field, maybe who are newer to the field. And also, if you've been around for a while, this is a good reminder for you as well.
Yeah, this is a fun one. Do you want me to start this time?
Yeah, so you go ahead and start. Also, it's Sunday again, and that means we're going to cheers before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go ahead. What we've done is we've actually taken all of the advice that you guys have given us. We've put them in a hat and we're going to pull them randomly and we'll talk about it.
Okay. This is from Anna or Anna. People say it differently, and I'm sorry if it's one way or the other. I know some people get really pissed off about that. But Anna or Anna, LCSW, licensed clinical social worker. Invest in therapy for yourself, a wine subscription, and when in doubt, validate with 3 exclamation points.
Yeah. So we've heard this before where getting your own therapy can be helpful.
Yeah.
I definitely advocate for this, whether you've been in the field for 10, 15, 20 years, even longer, maybe doing your own therapy. And also, if you've never been to therapy and you're thinking about being a therapist, this is key in your learning, I think, and development.
Yeah. I've learned a lot about myself and also working on, we're human, right? Countertransference, all that comes up. And to help with burnout, your own personal things, or even just seeing what it feels like to be in the couch or on the couch. You know, I recognize like, oh, I don't like it when there's a particular therapist that and I can go off on a tangent with this, but you can shop for therapists as well. That would be one of my advice, I guess. But one of the therapists that I seen, I didn't like her much at all. She was just throwing interventions at me, and she knew I was a therapist too, but I could catch her on the bullshit. You know, it didn't seem authentic and real to me. It was just one intervention after another. And I was like, okay, so that's something I'm not going to do.
Right. I've also had therapists where, they're doing the initial session with me and it's like they're asking me questions while typing it on the computer.
Oh, yeah, I hate that.
And it was so impersonal. And, I make a point with my clients, like first session, I might jot stuff down. It's like, hey, just so you know, I might take some notes because there's going to be a lot of information that I'm going to hear from you today. But typically I'm not going to be writing stuff down.
Yeah.
So,
And I've gotten so good at like writing down without looking down. I don't know if you've done that, but I've gotten really good at like and writing short abbreviations for myself, right? Like DX, HX, whatever.
we got server life in our background. So I've gotten a lot of that from just being a server and like edamame. Okay, Ed. Chicken fried rice, CFR. Like,
oh my God, I do CFR for chicken fried rice. Okay. Anyway. So, but yeah, I think, just going to therapy yourself, you can see what you like and what you don't like in a therapist, what you want to do and what you don't want to do. See what it's really like. And I clearly remember one thing that I learned from is a therapist had asked me what was it? Oh, they asked me, where are you from? And I said, oh, I grew up in LA, most of my life, went to school in OC. Now I live in San Diego. And they followed up with, no, like your family. And so I said, oh, my family's from Thailand. Then after that, they said, oh, your English is pretty good. And I was almost walked out the door at that point. This is just in general. No one should ever say that.
that's called a microaggression if you
Right. but as a therapist too, someone who's a professional who's supposed to be helping you out, saying something like that, I'm sure, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure maybe they didn't mean it that way. And who knows, maybe they went home and they were like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that, because there were times when
Right.
I've said things where I'm like, I probably should not have asked my client that. But anyway, you learn these things from going to therapy too.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then also the validating piece, I think that's super important too. And we've talked about that in a lot of our other episodes, but how the power of validation with clients, parents, kids, whatever, couples, especially, like validation just goes so far. And that's a good reminder, is if you don't know what to do, there's always validation. All right, so I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick a longer one.
Okay.
So this is from Yvonne, who is a licensed clinical social worker.
I love this one.
Well, he has a couple in here. This is actually a good friend of mine, a good colleague of mine. And he says, if you find yourself judging yourself for spending hours on your phone looking at memes because you can't bring yourself to finish your notes, know that you're not alone. And then he also says, which is a total plug because he's my friend, he goes, tune in to Burning the Couch for your dose of fresh and witty procrastination to make you feel better about yourself.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, love the support.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is memes are super fun, and when I have notes to do, I will find literally anything else to do but the notes, and then I end up spending my weekends writing notes. So pros and cons to that, but I think it's good, to have a little break sometimes and not judge yourself too hardly if you're just engaging in, some self-deprecating humor about the field and life and all of that. So yeah, notes suck.
I know you and I always send each other dark memes, like dark humor kind of stuff, therapy related. And I do that with my colleagues from the group practice too. So
I mean,
it gets us through.
That's what a lot of our Instagram is like funny memes about.
Yeah.
And it's not in no way to like poke fun, but I feel like I have to say that. But it's like, oh my gosh, yes, that one thing really sucks.
Notes. Yeah, it gets us through, Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. Should I pull a big one? I'll pull, this is like a medium-sized one. Let's see. This is from Jen. It's, I guess Jen is a psychologist, PhD. Respect and protect your areas of competence as a provider. There can be pressure from others and ourselves to extend beyond our expertise to serve clients in need. However, we can't be experts in everything, and we do a disservice when we try to be. Practice humility, self-care, and self-advocacy by serving clients that you feel well-equipped to serve. And you can always seek more training and supervision to expand those competency areas. And a little smiley face.
I like this one. I think it's well said. And, a lot of times when you're in certain placements or you're in certain jobs, there might be pressure to take on more or take on something that maybe it's something you haven't had experience with, or it's not a good fit. Or you don't have like a specialty in that thing, right? You're not going to say you're an expert when you're not an expert on something. So being mindful of that. And of course, we're always going to be learning, and we have to take, extra coursework and be supervised and all of these things. But, if I wasn't trained in DBT, I wouldn't say I'm an expert in DBT. Or if I've never worked with couples, I wouldn't say I'm a couples therapist, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think
don't lie. Clients can see right through you.
And there is pressure sometimes, either, like she said, either from ourselves or even, bosses or companies that we
Yeah.
work with.
And clients, I've had clients that ask me, well, have you worked with this specific thing before? Or have you ever worked with clients of this population? And as much as you would want to say yes, be authentic, be real. No, I haven't. And you might not be the right therapist for them, or they like you enough and like your character and you as a person that they want to work with you. And I think I've also experienced this where in some placements that I've had supervisors push me to take on cases that I didn't feel ready for or I didn't feel competent enough to take. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, honestly, I don't think I can do this. It's as if, like, if we put it in terms of like medical doctors, right? I wouldn't want like my podiatrist to do heart surgery on me. I don't have a podiatrist, by the way, but I'm just saying.
I probably need one, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, sorry, guys.
problems with Zoom recordings.
Yeah, quarantine life for sure. I have do not disturb on, but for some reason it's not on my computer, so I
Yeah.
apologize. But moving forward, it's my turn.
Yes, your turn. Go.
Okay. All right. This one is from Z, who is a licensed mental health clinician. And she says, work with a wide range of mental health issues in different settings, then figure out your ideal work environment and client population. Be willing to learn and take in feedback because you will never stop learning. This is good too. I like this because one reason I think it's relevant is because we always, not always, a lot of times we get into the field thinking, oh, I already know what I want to do. At least I did. I'm a child of divorce and I wanted to help couples through their shit. That's why I wanted to be a therapist, because I knew what it was like to be the kid. And I wanted to work with couples and I wanted to help families ultimately, work through their issues so that kids wouldn't feel the way I felt. However, as I started going through the program and I started actually experiencing things, I found that I actually really like working with kids, which I didn't anticipate liking or enjoying. I also really like working with teens, the angsty ones. I love them. And I also like just individuals, right? And I found myself I'm like, I actually, I've worked with some couples and couples work is fine, but it's a completely different animal. And I don't know if that's what I want to specialize in or focus on. So being open-minded to that, if you don't get the practicum placement you were hoping for, and you're working with kids and you thought you didn't want to work with kids, give it a shot because you won't really know unless you try it.
Yeah.
And I think working with kids can be super fun. And a lot of people are scared of that.
I think your interest can change over time too. When I first started, because I had an ABA background as well. And so that was my comfort zone. So I specialized in autism for the longest time. And I still do. I still get a lot of referrals for autism cases. But, I was afraid to work with adults. Because I've worked with kids and did behavior work for so long, then I got into working with 0 to 5. And so I was very comfortable with that age range. Eventually, I started working with more adults. I had people in their 30s, 40s, 50s when I was at residential. And I actually really enjoyed it. Did deeper work, got to do talk therapy and then play therapy, and I liked it. And now, I see a variety, and it's okay to have different interests in different periods of time. There are times when I'm like, you know what, I want more, younger ones. I want more 0 to 5 cases. It's what inspires you, what brings you passion, what you want to see, because you don't want to be overwhelmed with a population or a certain type of cases where it burns you out too. So
Yeah.
there could be times when I got referrals for a bunch of 3 and 4-year-olds. That's like 80% of my caseload. And I'm like, I am tired. Please, please, please give me a teen or a young adult. Have them walk through my door because I need more of that. And it's okay. And right now, for me, I've been taking more teens and more young adults, like college students, because that has been my passion lately and the clients I want to serve lately.
Yeah, I also like having a variety on my caseload, right? So I like having some kids, I like having some adults, I love having some young adults, some families, some couple. Like I love to mix it up because again, I don't get burnt out. It keeps it interesting. Obviously, you can't always choose
Yeah.
everything. Um, but that's one thing I really liked is because there's such a variety in what we can do in a day. Um, and I feel like prepared and fresh and ready for my client. I feel I'm more effective when it's not all just one thing.
Yeah, that's
So
for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Good one. Okay. Let's do this one. Ooh, this is an anonymous one. It's from one of our social media. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll hurt.
Hurt.
Short and simple. Oh, hurl. You'll hurl. I thought it said hurt. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll hurl. I don't know if I've ever hurled.
This must be maybe a more like hospital medical setting.
Probably. It's probably one of our other helpers that aren't technically therapists. I
Or
thought
maybe
it said
they're in like residential or something. I don't
maybe. I read it as hurt because I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Probably a hospital setting, but you know what? I can agree with you'll laugh and you'll cry. And if you're in the hospital, you'll probably hurl.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
But I
I'm
have
kind
laughed.
of
I have cried. I've laughed in session with my clients. I've cried in sessions with my clients before.
absolutely. And I'm trying to like come back to the hurling piece. Um, 'Cause I've worked in a good amount of residential like facilities, and yeah, that definitely can be a thing. So
Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, my time in residential, oh, we had bed bugs this one time. It was terrible. If you ever get like bed bugs or any type of infestation in residential, like you're doomed to get it contained.
however, there are pros to residential, but yeah, I can see in like hospital settings or residential things like that could be kind of messy. All right, moving on. Moving on. Let's see. Trying to pick the bigger ones because okay. Oh, this is from Pim, yours
Ooh,
yours
okay.
truly. Um, so as many of you know, she is has her doctorate of psychology. She's an LMFT, and she's also a registered play therapist.
Too many letters. A, B, C, D, E, F.
You know, when she got married, she was super excited to like shorten her name, but then she got all these like credentials, and it's pretty much just as long,
Yeah.
if not longer. So Tim says, it's okay if a client doesn't come back or decides you are not a good fit. They have their own journey to take. You want to
Yeah,
speak?
I think this one it speaks so true to me because I remember there were times when I had clients walk out of this one time in particular, I'll never forget them. They're my first client as a trainee that walked out of my session. I had said something, it was like an assessment question, and they were offended by it, and they walked out, called my supervisor, and also wanted to file a grievance. I don't
I
know if you
remember
remember
this.
this.
I do
Yeah.
remember this.
I was so upset. I was just like, what did I do wrong? Like, is it something I said? They didn't like me. All my fears of rejection came up. And my supervisor goes, it's okay. This happens all the time, actually, especially with the clientele that we work with. They're challenging. And you have to remember that some of the more, I guess, severely mentally ill clients, like, might not be like, you're not going to expect them to just sit and be perfect clients all the time. And sometimes we do say something wrong, and that's okay. It happens. I
Yeah.
think it took a while for me to learn that, it's okay if I'm not a good fit for everybody.
Right.
And if they don't want to see me again or they don't want to come back, it's nothing that I did wrong. It's just everybody has a fit. It's the same as for me when I went to 2 or 3 therapists to find the therapist that I liked.
Yeah. I think this is also thinking about, helping professions that aren't necessarily, I'm coming back to, again, my experience in residential. And a lot of times, and I wasn't a therapist, I was like a mental health worker. So I would, drive clients to, this is before grad school even, I would drive clients to AA meetings or 12-step meetings. Um, I would have to kind of monitor. I'd run some groups, but it wasn't anything like deep clinical stuff. And I worked with a lot of the TAY group, right? Transitional aged youth. And, these clients would get so mad. At first, they were like, oh, Michaela's cool. Michaela's cool. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's not a good thing. Right. Like, that means they're getting away with something. And,
Exactly.
my suit. And then, I kind of started being I was more comfortable in my role. I was learning. I became more assertive. And I was kind of calling some people out. And there are consequences to certain behavior. There were rules that needed to be followed. And I had a client come up and get in my face and cuss me out, grabbed his stuff, hiked down the hill and was like, I'm out of here. Right. And I talked about it because we had supervision as well. And I talked about it with my boss, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, they don't like me and
Mm-hmm.
they cussed me out and I feel like terrible, but I was just following the rules. And she's like, honestly, like, the population we work with, like, if you're following, you're there, it's bound to happen that people aren't going to be happy with you sometimes, and sometimes that's you doing your job, right? You're setting limits, and sometimes people don't like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, or even asking certain questions. Some people don't like those questions.
Yeah.
Um,
I've had clients who, they're great clients and they're seeing me consistently, like, for example, like a family.
mhm.
The child had a lot of issues, but during the summer, it will, all is fine and dandy, right? There's no pressure, there's no schedule, no routine, no demands, and like, oh, you know what, we're good. We're not gonna come during the summer, and then I say, well, my recommendation is that they continue to come, even if it's just every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think we should prep them for this coming fall. And they're like, no, we're okay. And so they never come back. And surprise, guess who calls in fall when school starts? Yeah.
That's typical. Like, holiday season, everyone's out of town, everything's like, no one wants to come to session. And then January, school's back, you
Yeah.
know, it's like the drought is over.
Yeah.
And same with when August, September, all the problems come back, right?
Yep. It didn't go away. All right. I'm going to do a shorter one. This is from Angelica, LCSW. Remember, we are rewiring the brain, so learning something once is never enough. This is so true, especially if you are a new therapist. It can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm teaching this skill over and over and over again. Why are they not getting it at this point? Then maybe you have to take a step back and see, okay, where are they stuck? Because if they haven't reached point A yet, they're like not even there, then you're trying to get them to point C, it's probably not going to work out. You're just
Right.
pushing them before they're ready. And this one took me a while to learn too, as a new therapist back then, of, trying to land these interventions and, why my client's not making change yet, what's happening. And that might be, to be honest, based on my like short-term therapy training, because we were looking with low income Medi-Cal Medicare population, so we had limited number of sessions, so we were having a push. But my supervisor at the time told me, it's okay if you get one thing done.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have all
I
these
just-
grand goals,
Yeah.
right? If you ask your clients what they want, they're going to give you these goals. But if you're limited to 13 sessions, you might have to be real with them and be like, okay, we can only get maybe half of that goal or maybe one of those goals. And it's okay if it took you 13 sessions to get halfway there.
Especially if you have a limited amount of sessions, like 12 sessions. Some insurances are even less than that. That is key, is kind of targeting, and that comes back down to treatment planning as well, and being realistic with your treatment plan. But I think that's something that newer therapists have a hard time wrapping their head around, because we have this, at least I had this expectation of, oh my gosh, I'm going to do so much work, and I'm like, oh, it'd be great if I had like a year with this client and we could work on all these things and then get to trauma. And it's like, you might not ever touch the trauma.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
you might never even get there. So yeah, I think that's a really, really good point to make, is that you're not going to be pulling interventions out one after the other. It might be small steps.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. This one is from Jean, and I don't know what kind of therapist, but I'm going to assume they're a therapist.
Okay.
And Jean says, be genuine. Clients will notice right away when you're being inauthentic and will rightfully put their guard up. A genuine connection, honesty, modeling appropriate interactions can be so important in the therapeutic interaction. Unconditional positive regard is important, and if you can't access that with someone, take a moment to explore what you're reacting to. Maybe a trauma reminder of your own or a bias you hold.
Wow. Ooh.
Jean, dropping some knowledge here, Jean.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is good. Right. And I think speaking to the therapeutic relationship and kind of checking our own shit, checking what's coming up for us. And I've definitely had this with clients where I'm just like, especially in couple relationships where I feel maybe more aligned to one than the other, which I really, really have to be mindful of, right? Because I'm helping the couple is my client, not the individuals. And so having this positive regard and understanding where are those feelings that I'm having coming from, right? What am I reacting to? Why is it hard for me to connect with this particular person in the room? Right? This is deep, and also the being authentic is crucial, because they know when you're bullshitting. They know.
Oh yeah. And I think the clients who have stuck with me long term, in various stages of their life. I mean, I've seen clients from their freshman year and now they're about to go to college. It's amazing. And they've stuck with me because they say I'm real. I'll call them on their BS when they're BSing me, and they can call me on my BS, and they're like, how many times are you going to use this metaphor?
Especially, I feel like especially teens, they freaking know. They can sniff it out.
Yeah. And, sometimes they use these acronyms and I will be like, I don't know what that is. I'm not going to pretend and be like, oh yeah, okay, sure. And I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. Absolutely. So be authentic. I think, if anything, the job is to model appropriate interactions and learn how to connect with people, learn how to, engage in life. So you are a model of that. And if you're not
Yeah.
authentic, then that is saying something, right?
Yeah.
So thank you, Jean. Dropping
All
knowledge.
right. Okay, so I pulled one from Michaela. So Michaela's an
Both of ours
LMFT. She's also in the doctoral program as well. So let's see. There's 3. You have 3.
I know.
I'll go one at a time. You won't always know what to do, what to say, or how to be with your client. Get comfortable with not having the answers. Also, keep extra hard copies of wet signatures of everything everywhere. You won't always see a major change with every client. Sometimes we are just the ones to plant the seed for another provider. I love all of them. I think for planting the seed, it's actually something I learned with one of my first supervisor. And she's told me, we have 13, 18 sessions with this family. Sometimes you might just be planting a seed for another provider in their future because you might not get there in that limited amount of time. And that's so, so true. And yes, girl, with the keep hard copies of wet signatures everywhere, I have
literally everything. Every
yes.
school board of, BBS, like
everything. So
everything.
I've kept, I have like hard copies of things. And then I've also scanned them as well and keep a copy on my computer too, and another copy on like the cloud or some kind of drive, just because I'm like, if my computer breaks down, if my house is on fire, then at least it's in the cloud.
Yeah, like fireproof, safe, whatever, especially when you're collecting your hours. And I don't think this is stressed nearly enough, is you want to, if you're having your supervisor sign a wet signature on something, which is what the board wants, is wet signatures, right?
Yeah.
Have them sign it twice.
Yeah.
They can sign it twice. Or your school, whatever it is, like they have to sign off on some internship form, whatever, sign it twice, because Pim and I both have had the experience of our school loses shit. Our school does lots of shit.
Well, so, especially if you're in the doctoral program and you're there for like 6-7 years, like you're there for a long time. Like we've seen professors come and go. We've seen office staff come and go during that amount of time, and they're bound to lose shit.
Yeah. So don't trust that they have it. Just keep an extra copy somewhere.
Yeah.
2 other places. Right.
And this is how crazy I am. So before I got licensed, I actually kept hard copies in a, you're going to laugh at me, in a fireproof safe.
Yeah, no, I think you should.
Because I was so scared that something was going to happen to it. I don't do that anymore now that I'm licensed, but I still have the hard copies and I still have the electronic copies if I ever need them. But that's how scared I was, because I think it was my law and ethics class where a professor told me that someone didn't get their form signed, and then their supervisor ended up like moving and they couldn't find them anywhere. Like they went to another state, and so they had to redo all their hours. So yeah, I was so scared that I was like, I'm going to get a safe.
It's interesting you say that, because one of my biggest fears as being like an intern and an associate, pre-licensed, was, oh my gosh, what if something happens to my supervisor? And I was like totally that catastrophic thinking of, I would go in, I'm like, I'm going to bring in, the hours for the last month for you to sign. And she's like, you can just bring them to me like whenever, like you can bring them later. You can just put them out. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, I was so afraid, like, what if something happened?
What if you died?
This is not necessarily, we're not trying to scare you. But that was my experience of like, oh my God, what if like there's a car accident or something? Like, what if she like, I don't even know, right? And she can't
Yeah.
sign my shit. So I would say get your hours signed frequently, and also get 2 signatures, get 2 wet signatures, and put it somewhere else that's maybe not your house.
That's kind of funny.
And also you need a bug out kit, and
keep a copy in your car, keep a copy at your parents' house, keep a copy at your friend's house.
Can you all tell that I have anxiety? Oh, okay.
We all do.
So, all right, let me pick another one. Oy. Okay. This one is from She, who is an associate marriage family therapist. And she says, she is SHIH. So he says, don't just learn to sit with your client's moment of silence. Learn to sit with what makes that silence deafening, your own insecurities as a clinician.
That's another deep one.
Can I read it again?
Yeah.
Let me read it again. It's just like poetic almost, right?
It is.
Don't just learn to sit with your client's moment of silence. Learn to sit with what makes the silence deafening, your own insecurities as a clinician.
I feel like I have to meditate on that one.
Like drop the mic, and I think this is great for especially new therapists, and also it's a good reminder for me as well, because there's always going to be that like silence in the room or that pause that our clients are having. And for me, sometimes that can be super uncomfortable, and I want to fill the silence, and I want to say something, and I want to okay, I'm gonna psycho ed right now, like, and that's not at all what's needed, because it's not just learning to sit with their silence. It's like, why is the silence so uncomfortable? Right?
Yeah.
Why is that uncomfortable for me? What's coming up? Am I in like, for me, it's like, what's the need to go to psycho ed? To show I know something? To show that I can help with something? That I'm competent? Right? And a lot of times it's uncomfortable because our own shit is coming up, right? Like, why is it quiet? Why is it, why aren't they responding? Did the intervention flop? Like, whatever it is. And we do have insecurities as clinicians. That's going to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
That's a learning thing.
It's a good one.
I love it.
All right, let's see. This is like a medium-sized one. This is from, I'm probably going to butcher this. It's either Shaylin or Sheelin. Shylin? I'm so sorry.
Shaylin, maybe Shaylin.
Shaylin. Okay, I'm gonna guess Shaylin. It's hard when it's like written out. So Shaylin is a registered psychotherapist, and they said, don't be afraid to ask for help. Seeing a therapist of your own, having a supervisor, connecting with peer groups, etc., can ease the loneliness and compassion fatigue that can come with the profession, and teach you so much about yourself, how to navigate this helping space. Also, imposter syndrome is completely normal, and man, oh man, is it real.
What's great is that every time we pull one, they kind of go with each other.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, we're pulling right random, guys. Like, I have a bag right here. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, she spoke to a couple things that we've already said so far, but
I think the imposter syndrome piece is something that we haven't brought up yet. It is normal, and it's so real. There's been so many times that I felt that, and I am so glad to be working in a group practice. And I think a lot of people who are in private practice who are doing it alone also find ways to reach out. They have weekly consult groups or they meet with colleagues for coffee from here to there because it can be so isolating.
Yeah. I think that's really important too. Um, I mean, just to recognize that I've worked with people who have had extensive amounts of education behind them and training behind them and experience even. And even those people sometimes experience this imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like people that I wouldn't expect to have it, right?
Right.
People that I even, oh, I just hit the table. People that I look up to and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could have that, just put their brain in my brain, right? and even they have those moments where, oh my gosh, I have this imposter syndrome. I have this feeling like someone's going to find out that I don't really know what to do and I don't
Mm-hmm.
really know how to help them and whatever it is. So normalizing that in this profession, again, there's no clear roadmap
Yeah.
with any client. There's no one thing you should say or have to say, and you're not going to know everything.
Yeah. And sometimes I've envied other helping professions where it's like a puzzle that you can just, that has clear cut pieces that you can just put together,
Yeah.
like just solving the problem, just putting a band-aid, putting ointment, having a cure for it, where we're in a field where there isn't that.
And there's going to be trial and error.
Yeah.
That's going to be a thing too. There's going to be
Mhm.
trial and error.
But
Right.
that's the art.
That's the art piece. Absolutely.
All right. I think it's your turn.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is from AJ, LCSW, licensed clinical social worker. And they say, hold firm and healthy boundaries with clients and your schedule. I promise people will adjust.
So true. As a new clinician, I remember, oh, you want to come in at 6 p.m.? Okay, I'll be here. You also want to come in at 8 a.m.? I'll be here. And just trying to get as many clients as possible and accommodate to them. And that was so bad for me because my work schedule was all over the place just because I wanted clients so bad.
Right.
And I realized that if I set my limits like 9 to 3 or like whatever, 10 to 4, they're going to make it work if they really want to see you. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. Maybe there's another therapist out there whose schedule works better with
Right.
them.
I noticed this. There was some pressure. There's some pressure from clients sometimes. But for me, a lot of it was even just like working in a group private practice. There was the pressure of seeing clients on having a schedule, certain set schedule. And, again, every private practice is very different on how it's run. A lot of times clinicians make their own schedule. But I think that's really important to notice is what is your limit? What are you willing to flex on? What are you not willing to flex on? And also not overbooking yourself too, because I've had a lot of people like bosses, agencies, practices that I've worked at try to kind of continue to expand my schedule. And I'm like, I can't take more people on right now.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm not going to see, 8 to 9 people in one day. I can't do that. I can't do that personally. So being mindful of what is my limit on scheduling. And I will tell you, I've said yes to the 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Sunday sessions. And that's fine if it's good for you, if you're an early riser. But I found myself becoming a little bit PO'd when my 9 a.m. Sunday was like late. And I'm like,
Yeah.
right?
I need OJ in this. Sorry. I can't.
People, and the thing like moves. So, but yeah, that's really important is your schedule is super, it's a priority. right? And you're allowed to say no, and you're allowed to adjust. So, and a lot of times clients they'll find some way to work it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
okay. Let's see. Get another one. This is from Tanya, PsyD LMFT. I'd like to tell a new professional in the field to work in as many clinics and agencies as you can while you are pre-licensed. Gain as much experience as possible so that when you are licensed, you will be well-rounded and be able to see a broad range of clientele. Don't just stick to what you know or like. Expand your knowledge by networking and taking CEUs and other topics of psychology. Love what you do and learn about what you don't.
this is again like really driving home a similar message, right? Of expand your knowledge. And I remember having a supervisor early on, she would tell me, now's the time to take advantage, right?
Yes, try it out.
Where you can challenge yourself a little bit, go ahead and challenge yourself, because right now you have my support. You have group supervision support. You have your professor and your, supervisor at school or whatever. You have their support. You have so much like around you to help you along this journey and help you in this difficult situation. Take advantage of while you're here and you have us, because one day you're not going to have all of us, right? Yeah. Like you might have a consultation team or something, which is great, but you have so many resources while you're in school, so take advantage of it.
So true, because you're still in the training grounds. Like you have everybody try it all out. If you've never worked with a specific disorder or a specific population before and you don't feel comfortable, try it out. See how it goes. It might not be as bad as you think, and you have the support there to help you, so that when you're off on your own, you end up with a client who has that or is from that population. You're not, just taken by surprise and not knowing what to do.
Yeah, that's the time to explore, is when you have all this supervision and all the support to back you up, right, and guide you through the process. So, yeah. All right, I'll pick another one. Okay, so this is from my friend Yvonne, again, who is a licensed clinical social worker. And this one cracks me up because it's just so freaking good. So Yvonne says, it's funny because I know him, so there's a little bit of relatability here. So it says, you will fuck up. You may get written up. Your clients may get pissed off or walk out on you. Have patience with yourself and accept the fallibility of everyone, including those you trust to guide you through those experiences. Allow yourself to fail gracefully and learn without rejecting the experience, which is also can get kind of deep. I'm reading this again, and I think it's warranted to say that your supervisors and your professors and these people that are to guide you through the experience, like, you might not always agree, or they might also not be, they might mess up too, right? Right, with whatever it will be. And being able to accept that and take that and also learn from that experience is super important. There have been times when I don't necessarily agree with everything, or, I expected something and I didn't get it, right? And so being able to be kind to myself, be kind to the person that I was expecting something different from, right? I mean,
you'll fuck up and it's okay.
Yeah, you're gonna fuck up and you might even get written up.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but you're learning. This is a learning experience. Not everyone's gonna have it off the bat. So Thanks,
All
Yvonne.
right. So I got 2 from Angelica again, LCSW. Explaining why and how you're teaching a skill and how this ties to their goal is key to having clients buy into therapy and using what you teach them. And the other one is go to the park and watch typical development unfold. Now, I like both, but I'm going to speak to the second one. Go to the park and watch typical development unfold. So true if you're working with children, especially children with atypical development or slower development, because I had so much fear that my kids were, going to have all these things. And it sounds bad to say, but I have talked to my husband of like, oh my gosh, our kids are going to be effed up. Just because that's all I see every single day. And I forget that there's typical development out there, and what I'm seeing, it can skew your views a little bit. It can seem like everybody has anxiety, everybody has depression, everyone has trauma and this and that, because that's all you're used to seeing on a daily basis. And I was scared to fuck up as well, becoming a parent. I'm not a parent now, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess up my kids like this and like that. And I probably will mess up, but we forget if we don't see typical things out there.
Right.
This is a good
Right.
one. Go to the park and watch typical development unfold.
Can you read the first one again?
Explaining why and how you're teaching a skill and how this ties to their goal is key to having clients buy into therapy and using what you teach them.
Yeah, I'll speak to this one a little bit because I think this is super critical, especially when it's the initial beginning stages of therapy and this person's maybe wary of therapy or not convinced that this is the right, path for them. Especially for me in DBT, it was kind of like, that's a huge commitment. You typically commit about 6 months and you have to go to group and you have to go to individual and right. And that can add up and it's a lot of time and effort and energy, but explaining how this is going to connect to why they're coming in, right? Like you're telling me all these things, you're telling me you want to work on this, you're telling me that this is a problem for you. And this is how I think I can help you. This is what's going to help with those things. You're going to learn X, Y, and Z for that situation, right? And it's a huge like turning point for a lot of clients of, oh, that's why I have to go to group as well. Or that's why it takes so long as well. Like I explain, it takes 6 months because it's going to take you that long to learn the skills in group, right? And you're going to learn the skills in group and then you're going to come see me and I'm going to help you apply the skills to your life specifically. So that helps with understanding like there's a method behind the madness, right? I'm not just throwing things at you hoping that they'll stick. There's a reason and rhyme and reason for everything that we do, right? Yeah. I think that's important too.
It sounds like you still have a lot.
I kind of do. Okay. This one's smaller. And this is from AJ. LCSW, I think the last 2 were from AJ. So we had people send multiple sometimes, so we would cut them up into separate. So this is AJ LCSW, and she says, countertransference is not a bad thing. It's normal, it's human. Be humble enough to be aware of it, work through it, and check it.
So true. Everyone has it. It's not anything abnormal. It's totally okay. We're human, so we can't expect ourselves to not have any feelings or thoughts about what our clients are presenting us with.
Yeah, and when we learn about countertransference, maybe it's, I don't know. I don't know if I had like negative feelings about it, but
I had negative feelings about it in grad school, I think.
Like, oh, I'm not supposed to have that.
Like, you're not supposed to have countertransference.
Or if you do, it's not a good fit. Like,
Exactly. But it's we're human. There's just no way to not have it. I think it's about recognizing it and working through it. And if you have your own therapist, speak about it.
right. And use your supervision and consultation group,
Mhm.
you know. I think that's the huge part there is determining if it's interfering too much in
Yeah.
you being able to provide services. But a lot of times it's like you're going to have it and maybe it doesn't affect, or you deal with it and you're able to still provide effective therapy, right?
Yeah. All right. This is my last one actually.
Oh my gosh, how do you have? I have like three more.
I have no idea. Okay, this is from Ori Asidi, a clinical psychologist. My advice is make sure to do therapy yourself before becoming a therapist. This can be a huge asset to you in a few ways. One, it can help you get a feel for what doing therapy and being in therapy is like, which can help you decide whether or not it's actually for you. Two, it can help you understand yourself better. For example, biases, blind spots, relationship tendencies, attachment style, boundary issues, etc., so that you are aware of what it is that you're bringing into the therapy room with you when you're with your future clients. It can help you, this is number 3, it can help you be an emotionally healthier human being overall, which will help you with burnout in the long run and will also be beneficial to your clients. So, go to therapy.
Yeah, I think that's like the message
This is
of,
like a lot of the words of wisdom or advice we've been getting too. Is go to therapy, go to therapy, go to therapy.
yeah, and there's like so many benefits to going to therapy, not only for your clients, but for yourself and your own development and just learning who you're going to be as a therapist or a helper, helping someone in the helping profession, right? So, awesome. I have like three more. You have no more?
Nope.
You had more than me. How did that happen?
I don't
Maybe
know.
we haven't been counting correctly. Okay, so I'm gonna just go through the rest of them then.
Yep.
Okay, so this is from Priyanka, who is an MFT, and she says, the initial feeling of getting into this field is definitely fun and exciting. One thing you want to avoid is burnout. If you start feeling mentally exhausted, you need to take a break. Remember, you won't let your phone battery reach 5%, so don't let yourself get to that point either.
So true.
I
And
know.
this is like a theme of a lot of our other advice too is beware of burnout. I think in school they tell you about it, but you don't really know what it's like until you feel it. And sometimes even when you start to feel it, you don't even know it's burnout. I didn't know what it was called. And I was like, oh, this is what being burnt out feels like.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you think, I want to help people so much. I'm so passionate about it. And this is what I want to do. There's no way I would get burnt out because I love this so much and it's my
Right.
passion. And you think that you're almost exempt to it, which is what my experience was is, oh, there's, yeah, okay, maybe I'll get tired, whatever, you know, I'll deal with it. I'll be fine. And I'm really good at separating work life from, home life or whatever. But it is very different when you experience it. You might not even be aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
It might look very, very small, right? Even like, oh, I'm going to end session a few minutes early, or I'm going to, like
Yeah.
something small like that could be, it's like, well, why am I ending a few minutes early? Is it because I want to get the F out of here? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why is it, or is it we're done and I'm working with a little kiddo and their attention's just, they've had too much for the day,
Yeah.
right? Like, why am I ending session early? Those kinds of things. And I will say that I've worked in environments where it's been really hard and I felt like I had to push through the burnout. So I definitely utilized, my support, my team that I was working with. I utilized my individual therapist, all of those things. So this is huge, and I don't let my phone get that low, and I am more important than my phone. So
It's a good one.
all right, so I have two more. All right, here is one. Here's another one from Yvonne. This is super okay, especially if you're a newer therapist. This is for you. Okay. The BBS sucks.
Sorry, keep
You
going.
probably feel the pain, right? You feel this in your soul. The BBS sucks and is slow as fuck to get anything done. Gosh, this is like
Yeah.
your supervisors may be slapdicks and not sign off on hours. This is known. That's okay. You will be licensed eventually.
Go, Yvonne.
So I feel this in my soul, like deep in my soul. I've had issues where supervisors didn't sign the correct form. I had to go back and get them to sign it. It was a big hassle. You don't want to do that. That's why you get white signatures of everything twice. And yeah, the BBS takes forever. It depends. Like for me, my experience was, I got my hours and then I submitted everything maybe a couple months after. I wanted to like have buffer hours.
Oh my God, what was that?
My ring light just fell off. I'm having technical difficulties today. Really? Like the world, like all my technology is just failing me. So my ring light fell on me. People are trying to FaceTime me. And anyways, coming back to how shitty the BBS is.
Well, and I think this is, I don't know if this is the case for like everyone else who is from getting licensed from other boards, or, we have some listeners in other countries as well who probably have other governing boards, but I'm sure it must be the same thing where they're not responsive. It takes weeks. So do everything in a timely manner. Put it in immediately. I remember when I took my licensure exam that I mailed out my application that same day because I knew it was going to take about 6 to 8 weeks to get something back.
Yeah. Well, now what I've heard they do is like once you take your licensure exam, you can actually pay online. Don't quote me for this, you guys, because I didn't actually do it. I just heard it through the grapevine. You can pay online and they will actually do everything online. You don't have to mail it in after your test anymore, which I would have done that. But
why didn't they just do that?
And you get your number like within 24 hours. You get your number like right away. Yeah. So, but the other thing is like for the BBS, I submitted all my hours and all this stuff, and it took me a long time. There were a lot of delays, not because I didn't send everything in, but the board was super backed up, and then there was a lot of things that came up that delayed them. So just be aware of that, and it sucks because that's your livelihood.
Well, I think what Yvonne is trying to say is just you'll get licensed. Yeah. Everything will be okay. You will get licensed. Some things just take some time. Supervisors may suck, but you'll be okay.
So just be on top of it. Be on top of like what they need to sign, because they might not know what they need to sign. Yeah. So be on top of it and do your best.
You'll be okay.
Yeah, you're going to get it. You're going to get it.
Do you have one more?
I have one more.
The last one? Okay.
The last one.
Drum roll. It's like the last one.
Okay, so this is from AJ again, LCSW. Okay. And she says, I think this is a great way to end.
Really? Okay.
It says, know that you may not be the first or only healthy relationship these clients will ever know. That is a powerful intervention itself. I'm going to read that again, just because I think this is like huge in our field, right? So know that you may be the first or only healthy relationship these clients will ever know. That is a powerful intervention in itself.
Very good. I like that we ended with that one.
Me too.
By chance too.
The universe has a plan.
It's so true, because I think out of all things, and in my experience with the different clients I've worked with, no matter the interventions, no matter what we did in these sessions, I was just the healthiest thing they've ever had. The healthiest adult, well, I worked with kids, so like the healthiest adult relationship they had in their lives. And that alone was so powerful.
Right. And moments of frustration and how you deal with your client being frustrated and making repairs when you mess up with your client, which you're bound to do, or, saying goodbye to your client. Like all of those things are moments where we can model what a healthy relationship looks like. Like we can have a goodbye where
And it's okay. Yeah.
it's a healthy goodbye, or when you're
Mhm.
finished with treatment, or you know what, yeah, I did mess up and I am the adult, or I am your therapist and I messed up and I'm gonna own it and I'm gonna apologize and make repair with you. So those moments, even though maybe they're uncomfortable to have or you don't like it, that is part of the process of therapy. That is the point of therapy,
Mhm.
right? And I have a friend and she was telling me how like she was kind of pissed at her therapist because she didn't text her when she didn't call her or text her or something when she expected it. And she said she would, and kind of coming back to this is part of it, like maybe address that with her,
Right.
like maybe bring that up, like that was upsetting to you in whatever way. So even those moments are teaching moments, they're therapeutic moments.
Yeah.
And so you're modeling what a healthy relationship looks like.
I think that's it. That's all the words of wisdom that we received from our listeners and subscribers. Hopefully, some of them were helpful for you, whether you're new to the field or you've been in the field for a while. These are some good reminders as well. I know that for me, a lot of things would have been helpful for me if I had just got into the field. Um, yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
so thank you for listening. If you have any feedback for us, any comments or concerns, even feel free to let us know. Email us at podcastbtc@gmail.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Burning the Couch. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.